Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a lap guide for the new lap time challenge taking place at Eiger Nordwand Reverse with the Lancia Stratos. So to access this lap time challenge, going over to sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed so you can be able to access this mode. Going over to the online time trials, which is towards the middle of the screen, and you will need to scroll just a little bit to access the current lap time challenge. So this is a 2-week event ending at the end of October 1st, 2025, where we're in a fully stock Lancia Stratos, but we're on the Comfort soft tires. Your goal is to get within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as that is when your lap time gets counted, and hopefully you'll be able to get to 2 million credits. Now you want to be really careful with your inputs because this car is a bit of a wild ride, especially on the lower speed corners, so where the final hairpin's at, that's where you want to be the most careful. One thing to note is that on the lower speed corners, so where these hairpins are at, you want to try to avoid touching these gray curves, because when you get on the throttle, if you're on those curves, they can potentially spin you out. So what I try to do, I try to get really close to these curves. So for example, the curb on the left for the final hairpin, I try to get close to it, but I don't want to touch it. You still need to be careful getting back on the throttle because, well, this car is a bit of a wild ride. So yes, you can still spin out even though you're not touching the curb. So throttle control is going to be a must. Now there is a jump right around this area. So this is before the start finish line. So you want to shift up to 4th gear before you hit this jump. Now go ahead and bring yourself towards the right, and you can use this darker patch of the tarmac as your first braking point. So I'm braking right before it starts, and you want to brake in a straight line and use the end of the curb on the right as your turning point. Shift down to 3rd gear, and as you start to turn in, you can start to ease off of the brakes, so you'll be doing a bit of trail braking. What you're going to do, you're going to ease off of the brakes, let the car coast for just a moment so the car is turning in a bit better, and you can bring yourself all the way to the right side of the track to give yourself a better setup for the exit of this first turn. And as soon as you hit this outer apex, that is when you can start to fully accelerate your way out, and then bring yourself towards the left side of the track. Now before the grass on the left starts, you can start to turn in towards the right, but because this turn tightens up along the way, you'll be going off full throttle for a little bit and then start to gradually ease off of the throttle. If you gradually ease off of the throttle, the car will start to rotate a bit more, but it'll still be within your full control. So you want to just slowly ease off of the throttle and start turning in. Car rotates, but it's still under your control. Then before the curb on the right ends, that is where you want to stab on the brakes for a very brief moment and start to turn in towards the left. So the car will shift directions. Now it's sliding over to the left, and you can use a bit of throttle control to try to control the sliding that your car is doing. So the car is sliding here, but it's still under my control, so I can get a nice little slide and carry quite a bit of speed through that quick left-handed turn. And you want to avoid clipping the grass on the right, because if you barely clip it, that can send your car spinning out of control. So it's either you fully dip into the grass or you stay away from it. Don't clip it. So here I stay away from the grass, stay on the right, and you want to stay on 4th gear, because if you shift up to 5th gear, you do lose a bit of time because the upshifts with the Stratos are a bit slow. So just stay on 4th gear. Even if you hit the rev limiter, it's still a bit faster than going up to 5th gear. Now bring yourself towards the right, brake right after the bollard that is on the right. So this is before the exposed rocks that are on the right. So you'll use all of your braking power, turn in before you reach the end of the tunnel that is on the right, and you'll eventually make your way down to 3rd gear. I know some people go down to 2nd gear for more rotation and exit on 3rd gear, but for me, I felt a little more comfortable just staying on 3rd gear, so I'm not doing the downshift into upshift shenanigans. Now here is where I get on the throttle, but I try to be pretty aggressive getting on the throttle. That way I can get the car to step out just a little bit to get the little bit of extra rotation. You want to be careful because if you get on the throttle too early, you actually do risk getting a bit of understeer, which can end up with you going into the wall because the car's not turning and your lap time gets invalidated. But here I was able to get the car to rotate just enough to be able to go through this rest of the turn pretty much flat out. So you see me just going flat out, and I'm able to avoid even getting close to the wall on the right. Then you're going to brake when you're halfway across the bridge. So it's going to be right here just after the new sector starts. Use all of your braking power and you're going to eventually make your way down to second gear. You can bring yourself towards the left, that way you set yourself up for this right turn that is coming up, because this turn is pretty sharp. So when the curb on the left is just about to end, that is where you start to turn in and ease off of the brakes. Now you want to be really careful about getting on the throttle while your wheels are on this gray curb that is on the right, because these gray curves can potentially spin you out, and I found that out the hard way. Now be really careful getting back on the throttle, because this is where the car gets really sketchy, because this car is pretty sketchy when you're on the lower speed corners. You brake and start turning in before you pass the track marshal on the left. Stay on second gear, avoid the curb on the left, and you want to be really gradual getting back on the throttle. But do be careful about getting on the grass, because that can potentially mess you up. There, I got really lucky. Now you're going to brake and start turning in before you pass this tall, happy little tree that is on the left, and you will make your way down to second gear. So you see me going down to second gear, doing quite a bit of trail braking. I'm controlling my braking input because I still want to have the ability to turn. And you're going to go for a super late apex for the penultimate hairpin. This is my apex right here, and this is because I want to set myself up for the final hairpin. So I just straight line it to the final hairpin, and just as this turn starts, that is where I start to ease on the brakes and start turning in. Now I'm going to wait until I'm going on top of the crosswalk before I start to get back on the throttle, which is right here. You want to be really careful getting back on the throttle, because it's really easy to get just a little too aggressive getting back on the throttle and you end up spinning out. That happened to me so many times, and I don't want you guys to go through that same motion that I did. But after that, go ahead and finish up your lap, and we'll go through this again, but this time I will not stop the video. So here we are getting ready to start the new lap. Shift up into fourth gear just before the jump. Brake just before the black patch right here. Down to third gear, ease off of the brakes, so doing a bit of trail braking. Hit the outer apex and then fully accelerate your way out. Turn in just before the grass on the left starts. Carefully ease off on the throttle to let the car turn in just a little bit more. Quick burst of the brakes to let the car slide around that high speed corner. Stay on fourth gear, stay towards the right, brake just after that baller that was on the right, down into third gear, slowly easing off of the brakes, so doing a bit of trail braking. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle. It's really easy to be too early on the throttle and end up understeering into the wall. Brake when you're halfway into this bridge, down into second gear. Be careful about these gray curbs as they can spin you out. Stay on second gear, nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Bring yourself towards the left, go up into third gear, back down to second. There we go, back down to second. Go for a super late apex for the penultimate hairpin. That way you set yourself up for the final hairpin. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle. And go ahead and fully accelerate your way out. And we'll go through this one more time, but this time we will be in bumper cam. So let's go ahead and cross the start finish line. Get ready to start the next clip, and here we go. So this is in bumper cam. Shift up just before this little jump right here. Brake just before the black patch right here, down into third gear. Take advantage of the entire width of the track. Quickly get back on the throttle. Go up into fourth gear in just a moment. Turn in just before the grass on the left starts. Carefully ease off our throttle to get a nice little rotation. Quick burst of the brakes. Get the car to do cute little slide. Stay on 4th gear, brake just after this bollard right here on the right, down into 3rd gear, ease off of the brakes as it's turning in. Be careful getting back on the throttle because you don't want to understeer into the wall. You're going to brake when you're halfway across the bridge, so it's going to be right about here. Down into 2nd gear, be careful with these great curves as they can spin you out. There's, at least for me, it doesn't feel like there's that much grip on them. Carefully get back on the throttle, bring yourself towards the left, go up into 3rd gear for a short moment, down into 2nd gear, going for a super late apex to set yourself up for the final hairpin. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle. You don't want to bend it because you've made it this far, especially if you're on a really good lap time. And with this, I was able to just barely poke into the 114s. So that's going to be it for this lap guide. Hopefully this lap guide helps you out, and if you like this lap guide, please do hit the like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and that is it for me. So this is Mr. MCA, the world's most okay player and really tired. And I'll see you in the next video.